Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
American soccer fans, welcome to episode 52 of the Stars and Stripes FC podcast. Donald Wine here, co-manager of Stars and Stripes FC, your source for all things U.S. national teams, the players that comprise them, and everything else surrounding the game of soccer in America. We have a roster for the U.S. men's national team's upcoming match against Switzerland. The men's national team will be playing the Swiss on May 30th in St. Gallen as a warm-up match for the Nations League finals. Of course, those matches, as you all know, will take place in Denver on June 3rd and 6th. Gregg Berhalter has called in a 27-player roster. Of course, for the Swiss match, we have a few guys that are out, namely Christian Pulisic and Zack Steffen will not be available since they are playing in the Champions League final on May 29th in Porto. That makes sense. The men's national team player pool has also suffered some injuries, notably a ruptured Achilles for defender Aaron Long. We've had a torn ACL from Jordan Morris. Recently, Tyler Adams has had back issues, and Weston McKennie has battled injuries for the bulk of the season for Juventus. And Paul Arriola is just getting back onto the field for DC United after an injury cut short his loan at Swansea. So with that in mind, Berhalter was trying to call in what he considered his A lineup for the Nations League finals, and he has until May 24th to make those changes. And he has until May 24th to solidify that 23-man roster. That will be the final 23-man roster that he will submit on May 24th. But with some of these injuries and with a couple of these guys out for other reasons, he had to adapt. And we have this roster, so let's just go through it. For goalkeepers, we have Ethan Horvath, Chituro Dunsa, and David Ochoa. Makes a lot of sense. Again, Zack Steffen will likely be added to this group after the conclusion of the Swiss match. For defenders, John Brooks, Reggie Cannon, Justin Shea, Serginho Dest, Mark McKenzie, Matt Miazga, Tim Ream, Brian Reynolds, Anthony Robinson, and DeAndre Yedlin. So there's some new names on this list. Justin Shea, notably, is a guy who just signed with Bayern Munich and is a young guy, and really looking forward to seeing what he can do in this camp. We also have Mark McKenzie, who had been battling some injuries while he was at Genk. He is now back in the fold for the U.S. men's national team. So it was great to see my man, Mark McKenzie, doing work and making it back onto the national team. You have Brian Reynolds, obviously, who debuted in March for the U.S. men's national team. And welcome back, DeAndre Yedlin. It's been a while since we've heard his name associated with a men's national team roster, but I'm glad to see it. He's been playing extremely well for Galatasaray out in Turkey and has earned this call up. Some people thought he might have been called up in March, but he is on this May roster. We will see if that leads to him being called in for the full national team when they go to Denver. For the midfielders, we have Kellen Acosta, Tyler Adams, Julian Green, Sebastian Lletget, Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa, and Jackson Ewell. So even with these injuries, Tyler Adams is in this camp. Weston McKennie is in this camp. It's interesting that Adams makes this camp because for McKennie, at least he doesn't have to go far. He's coming from Italy to Switzerland. So it's not a long trip for him. But for Tyler Adams, RB Leipzig just released him to go back to the United States to receive treatment on his back. So we will see if he actually features in this match or if it's a case of they're calling him into camp to see how that back is progressing and to see if he can be ready for the Nations League finals. That's when we really need him. This is just a warm-up match, but we really want to make sure that he's fully healthy for the Nations League. And then finally, our forwards. We have Brendan Aronson, Daryl DK, Matthew Hoppe, Gio Reyna, Josh Sargent, Jordan Sibachu, and Tim Weah. Matthew Hoppe makes his first camp, which is great to see. We obviously have Brendan Aronson, Josh Sargent, Daryl DK, who have all played extremely well. Gio Reyna, Jordan Sibachu, and Tim Weah also playing well. Weah, by the way, could be a League 1 champion if Lille holds off PSG on the final match day. So there's your roster. Again, 27 guys. Some of these guys are not in the 40-man provisional roster for the United States for the Nations League. So there's going to be some turnover. Of course, we're going to get Christian Pulisic back. We're going to get Zack Steffen back. It's a question of whether Paul Areola finds himself to the fold, Christian Roldan, and some of the other MLS players that we have seen as part of this A lineup that Berhalter is trying to form. And again, what Berhalter is looking for is not necessarily the strongest 11. He's looking for the strongest 30, because in this whole series, these 4 matches are meant to kind of simulate what World Cup qualifying is going to be like. We're going to have 3 match days in the course of a week, and you can't run out the same 11 guys every single match. As much as we all want to, these guys are going to need some rest. And that means that our depth is going to have to pick up. Our backups are going to have to be stellar. The guys off the bench are going to have to produce whenever their name is called. And all of these guys are going to need to be ready at a moment's notice, because again, with injuries piling up and with just the sheer workload that all of these guys go through throughout the season, it's undoubtedly, there's no doubt that there is going to be some opportunities for other guys to get shine during World Cup qualifying, and also for a lot of these guys to be depended on. And that's what this is about. Who can we depend on when World Cup qualifying begins? It starts with the Nations League, but it really starts with getting some final evaluation from this camp and from this match. So there's your roster, 27 players ready to go. They will be heading to the Swiss Alps this coming weekend to prepare for the match against Switzerland, and really to get used to that altitude, because again, they're going from Switzerland to Denver and they want to be ready to tackle the altitude. And I think it's a very smart play to play Switzerland in the Swiss Alps to prepare for that altitude that they will definitely experience in Denver. So that will do it for episode 52 of the Stars and Stripes FC podcast. Again, this was a quick one, but we wanted to run through the roster just minutes after it was released to the world. Don't forget, make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and rate and review. If you have questions, drop me a line at ssfcpodcast@gmail.com. We will be back next week. There's a lot of games to prepare for, and we will try to do it all next week. So enjoy the weekend and take care.